Hey guys, this is NTom.
I'm ex-gamer Richy.
And I'm the Flameclaw.
And welcome to the HellfireComms playthrough of Sonic Lost World. We've put it off long enough, so here we go. Just going to get right into it. And before I mention why we're playing this live and why we're playing it all, I should probably talk a little bit about what it was like going into Lost World. Think back to just after like Colours and Gens had come out. There was a lot of positivity, from the fan base to the franchise in general. People liked Colours, they really liked Generations, and they both were received and basically performed well sales-wise. So there was a lot of actual anticipation and excitement for Lost World, and when it got announced in May of 2013, is that right, Richard?
That is indeed right. It was basically the trademark was filed in May, and then the game was first revealed at a Nintendo Direct on May 17th, 2013, and then stuff followed after that, with the first trailer coming on May the 28th.
Yeah, so, basically people were excited. I went into NeoGAF threads, people were like, oh, this is going to be good. You even go to V and those, sour fuckers are like, yeah, this could be cool. And, it came out, we saw the Lost Hex, we saw the more simple, style of level design, all this kind of, tube stuff, and, it's cribbing a little bit from Mario Galaxy, let's be honest here. But, yeah, people were generally excited, and then we played the game. And let's be honest, the game was not received all that well. It would be generous to say it got mixed reviews.
That's a nice way of putting it, yeah. If you remember back when we were doing Heroes, I mentioned that game was the game that taught me life can be very cruel sometimes. This is the game that taught me never be optimistic.
Damn, man.
Because when I first saw this, a lot of these sort of vibes I was getting from it earlier on, from just the general colour scheme, the wisps, all that, I was thinking, cool, it's going to be more colours, because I absolutely love colours. And then, as you mentioned, you go and play it, and this isn't colours. This isn't anything like Colours.
It's wearing Colours clothing, but the stuff beneath is entirely new, because first and foremost we've got the parkour system, which basically lets you run up walls and such, run on the ceiling without losing speed. And I'm going to be honest, losing speed is meant to be a punishment in Sonic games. You're not supposed to be able to manage it that efficiently.
Yeah, and you just got this whole idea of Sonic recently, well, I guess quite a lot of the time, they've never really been able to get the idea of how to reward you with speed right, because you think classic Sonic was the time it did it well, along with Adventure, where you have momentum based speed rewards. So you've got a constant flow going, and you're just you build up speed that way, and the satisfaction of going fast is your reward. Whereas when you've got this sort of awkward, you're either walking or you press a run button and you run, it just takes all that away from you, and it feels incredibly forced, I find.
Well, not only does it feel incredibly forced, it just doesn't feel satisfying to control. I mean, for all the flack the Boost era games got for just sending you down a linear path, you still felt rewarded for doing well, whereas here you're just sort of toing and froing, not really doing much of anything, and you can never really settle into a gameplay style. You can never really, truly get to grips with the way the game works, because it's just so weird.
Well, I think, their mission statement, what Azuka wanted for Lost World is, there'd, never be any kind of repetition. Every, act would bring something fresh and new. And, that is admirable as a mission statement, but also it kind of makes the game feel all topsy-turvy. You never really get a kind of grip on what each world's about.
Exactly.
I love Knuckles here.
Yeah, this game's the cutscenes, I find them to be very hit and miss. In terms of both just the story and just the humour, because the humour, when it works, it's again like Colours, but when it doesn't work, it just feels overplayed, and the story itself just gets a bit stupid, but we'll get to better examples of that later on.
You may have been able to see Yoshi and what looks like the Triforce pop up. Don't worry, we'll be covering that DLC in the extras. For now, we're just going to get on.
Yeah, so going on that whole story tangent just for a little bit, obviously we're just getting a bit more story here. Lost World story is basically the simpleness of Generations.
Oh yeah.
Mixed with probably the worst of Colours' humour.
Not a fan, not a fan.
And that's really not a good place to be. It's basically how not to do a Sonic story.
But it's weird because it feels like they wanted to have a simple story but still like have a big story, and as a result it kind of clashes. And I'm gonna say this now, I will try to remain like as unbiased as I can throughout the game, but I fucking hate the Deadly Six. They are the worst villains ever in a Sonic game.
Well, to be fair, I think everybody hates the Deadly Six. They are like so archetypal and so forgettable.
It's like the fucking Monstars.
I've got to ask, like, why do they bother, like, blanking them out, like, in shadows in this first cutscene when their faces are on the fucking box?
Don't, man, don't. It's even worse in the 3DS version of the game, where there's, like, less cutscenes and whatnot.
Yeah, didn't they, like, fuck that up and play some of them out of order and shit?
I think so.
Oh my god.
And also compressing them to a 2008 era YouTube video, which is lovely.
Oh man, that needs to be seen to be believed. Speranda and I, Speranda from Digital Paradox, we actually covered the, there we go, there's me thingamabob. I was wondering where my spin dash button was. Yeah, Spar and I from Digital Paradox, we covered the 3DS version of the game on launch. That was a blind run. I have actually seen this game, like, through to completion. You know, I saw Johnny do it in the Sonic-a-thon, just trying to play it safe here. And, you know, I've seen, like, cutscenes and such, but, whatever, moving on.
I knew that would happen.
Okay, now we got, like, the friggin', like, Zetti's talking in the background, but it's not subtitled for whatever reason.
Yeah, because I hate it when games do this. It's just like, come on, if you're going to put words into a game, just give us subtitles, because sometimes you don't necessarily want the volume that loud, so you need the subtitles to be able to tell what the hell's going on. And sometimes it's just not clear either, so subtitles mean you can actually fully understand what's being said. Yeah,
I think we should, like, put our cards on the table right here. I'm, well, mixed towards Lost World, you know, having not completed it. I think it's kind of mediocre, but again, maybe my opinion will change, you know, by the time we reach the end of the game. Richie, you flat out hate it, don't you?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, there are some decent-ish ideas going on in here, but as a package, it just doesn't work. It's blatantly unsatisfying to beat, and, I mean, like, there is no reason you'd probably ever want to complete it. Story-wise, it's easily one of the worst I think Sonic's ever had, and that includes Sonic Chronicles and Sonic 06, because at least they tried to do something a little bit more interesting. Gameplay-wise, it's just a bit of a hodgepodge mess, and the level design really doesn't help because some of it is just blatantly cheap and unfair. And the music's also, for the most part, pretty forgettable outside of, say, Wonderworld, Windy Hill Zone, well, like Act 1, and the Deadly Six theme, and maybe the final boss theme. But outside of those, it's easily one of the most forgettable Sonic soundtracks I've ever heard, and that's just ridiculous.
I don't know, I'm also mixed on the soundtrack. Like, there's some really good tracks in here, but I don't think it's as consistent quality-wise as Colours was. You're probably going to hear that a lot throughout the course of the playthrough. Like, it's like Colours, but not as good. I will say, though, I love how clean the game looks, like, graphical-wise. They kind of, like, toned down, like, all the, you know, little bits and bobs from Colours level design to, you know, make it more streamlined, and hence the game can run at 60 frames per second, which is nice.
I will commend them for keeping it at a consistent frame rate. I don't exactly buy the idea that they went for this overly simplistic kart style solely for that, because there are games on the Wii U that look much better and run at 60, but I'll take what I can get, I guess. But, like, to carry on from what Richie was saying, like, my kind of impressions of the game or general thoughts on the game are, I also hate this game because I had the misery of playing it like day one before it got patched, and the raw, unfiltered Lost World experience is abysmal. Like, you're actually really lucky you're playing like the fixed up version here, Tom.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, like Flame or Richie?
Well, essentially, there's a few different things that have sort of been tweaked over time, because we're on version 4 here. But the main sticking points to me, there's a couple of things. There's the lives. At launch, this game removed the thing where you get a new life at 100 rings. For some reason.
I don't get that at all.
No, that was especially fucking dumb. I remember one of the pre-order bonuses being you get more lives, and at the time I thought, why the fuck would this be a thing you want? And then I played it and was like, oh. But, so yeah, there's the lives, and there are also the forced motion controls, because for certain wisps, you had to use the gamepad's gyro, which just doesn't work. So like now they've patched it so the offending ones, so I remember the biggest offender being the eagle wisp later on, but now you can just use the control stick for that, even though it tries to push you to use the gamepad still. Yep,
just taking my time here, lining up. Laser!
Yeah, you know, the most riveting of Sonic gameplay, stand and wait.
There we go, nailed it.
You've got two gameplay styles here. You've got stand and wait or running a straight line forward.
Man, they really want me to use the laser wisp in this level. That's pretty... Oh god, I thought it was going to land me on the ball there.
I don't think that can happen here, but there are some bullshit things involving these boulders later on.
This is pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. Where am I? Where am I? I'm afraid to press A!
Yeah.
Okay, I'm cool, I'm fine.
Just press A to not die, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, this is in no way, shape or form a friggin' red ring run, so if I run past them and you're like, oh no, Tom, my OCD! What? Okay.
We're off to a good start here.
Yeah. So yeah, if I run past them and they're like, oh no, my Collectivon instincts, I'm sorry, I just want to get the game over and done with, you know?
I mean, to be fair, that's pretty much the way you should probably play Lost World, because I don't think the fact of trying to get all the red rings is worth it at all.
Unless you're doing it for charity, you know, in which case, GG, Johnny.
Well, yes, unless you're doing it for charity, at which point everything becomes worth it, but we're just doing this for the mad YouTube dollar, yo, so it's
no,
not worth
we're
it
fucking
at all.
not, don't give them that.
You say that about the red rings. I would advise picking up just like a couple if they're easily in sight, because that's what lets you open the like little carnival tents, which help you grind for animals, because you know Sonic games grinding to be able to get to the next level. That's smart.
That was one of the best things about colours, though. You could just go from level to level, and that's it. There was optional stuff, like for getting the red rings, but you didn't need to explicitly get them or pick up little critters and so on.
Nah, we've got to waste your time, guys. That's how you do level progression.
I think they wanted to make the game longer as well, was another one of their mission statements.
Well, it's that, I think the idea that like they're going for, like taking this from a much more cynical perspective, is that it changes it from a game that you play as a rental game to a game that you have to buy.
To be fair, I kind of wish I'd... Well, if I rented games at all, I'd say that Lost World ends up being more of a rent than any of the other Sonic games I've ever played, because you just end up in a situation where after you've beaten, you're just like, do I really want to play this again? And the answer is generally, not really. So, it's more decent for a rent.
It's the parkour that's the sticking point, and when we get into the next act, I'll try and like show off exactly how it works, because we've just kind of been boosting through the levels so far, ironically, since the boost does not feature in this game. Like, even Colours had it as like a power-up.
What I will say that I tend to use as my substitute boost is, and the game doesn't tell you this, but once you've done your spin dash, once you're sort of rolling along, if you then push L again while you're moving, then that kind of keeps you going that little bit longer like a boost. So that's something else that was a real sticking point to me, because the whole game felt really fucking slow before I found that, and the game doesn't tell you can do that, so it's like... That just... Why don't you tell me? I could have had at least more.
Why don't you love me, game? Teach me things! Okay, I'll show this off here. I'm not pressing any buttons, I'm just moving the stick. You'll notice he's just walking normally. That is my spin dash. That is the left trigger. If you hold the right one, he gets like the super peel out motion, which is pretty cool, not gonna lie. And yeah, that's how you control Sonic speed. You're either walking or you're running. There is no in between.
I mean, the reason that they did this is because they wanted to give people more control over Sonic's speed, because that was apparently one of the major gripes that I think most reviewers came up with in relation to the Boost era games, so Unleashed and Colours and Generations, was that when you are running at full speed, you don't have much control. The problem with this switching between the speeds mechanic is that you ultimately don't have the control that they want to give you. While you can turn on a dime, it just becomes really finicky sometimes, because Sonic can turn so quickly that you just end up kind of careening off an edge or running into a wall when you don't mean to, and accidentally running up a wall that you really don't mean to, and then getting stuck in a situation that you never intended to get stuck in, and it just makes platforming a pain.
I don't know, it just feels kind of awkward to me, like I need to hold down a button to run and whatnot. This isn't like a GTA game.
Yeah, it also, you get into the habit of in these earlier stages of just like holding down one all the time, because like, you might as well. And then when you get to later sections where there's more like, I'm hesitant to say proper platforming sections, but like things where you need to slow down and do shit, and like you're just in this mindset of I should be holding the run button, and then you go running off the edge or some shit. Yeah.
Whee! That's pretty fun. I will say I like Windy Hill a lot. Like, it's just your green hill kind of XP, but I don't know, it looks great. You know, it's a pretty fun level in Smash Bros.
Well, I mean, I'd say Windy Hill is arguably the best level in the game, largely because it has the least amount of bull in it, and it's got probably one of the best musical pieces in the game, and it just feels so much better, because there's a sense of, okay, this is sort of okay, I'm kind of feeling this when you're playing through Windy Hill, and then as soon as you start hitting the next few worlds and the grind starts to become stronger and the levels start to become more bull, it's just like, I wish I was back in Windy Hill.
Oh, Richie, what do you like? My rings, my precious rings. Oh, that's not nice. I'm worried I'm going to hit that. Alright, Zaz is going to turn up in a minute and start harassing me. I'm just waiting for it.
Also, I'm not really a fan of how this looks exactly Green Hill. Out of all like the Green Hill homages, I'm always more a fan of the ones that are at least like a little bit different. Like, I think Neo Green Hill from Advance, maybe Seaside Hill, even though that in itself got overused. You know, like it's got the sort of similar sort of thing, but it's not exactly the thing. Whereas this is just, it's Green Hill but in a tube.
Give me that red ring! I want it!
You'll get it one day.
Whatever, I don't care.
Fuck it, I tried.
Actually, that is one of the things that I noticed about this game, is that, well, I mean, wisps, as I'm sure most people will agree, are particularly pointless in this game. Like, they're just sort of tacked on to try and make it seem like this is a Colours sequel, and they, like, some of them are sort of useful, but most of them don't really seem to work as efficiently as they should. A prime example is there, that red ring, like, it looked like you should have been able to get it, but the game just, for some arbitrary reason, just says, nope, that's not being allowed.
Well, it was mostly me not using the charge jump feature of, what the fuck is this wisp's name?
Asteroid?
Asteroid, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think that one, you kind of have to suck in enough terrain around you to kind of build it up, and it's really fiddly because there's only so much terrain around where you were. Okay.
Oh, now I am the chasee!
Well, this backfired.
Keep running, Sonic, keep running! I don't like being chased in video games, okay?
Well, it does show how kind of we've fallen in terms of threats, like... a few games ago, this was a fucking gun truck. Now it's some spiky dude.
Yeah, and he only takes like 3 hits.
This is new as well. The fact you can charge up your homing attack
when it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like most other new mechanics, it is kind of hit and miss. You may have seen me actually just kind of eat shit when trying to attack badniks throughout the course of Windy Hill. That was me trying to utilise the kick attack, which is also new.
You got the guessing game of, do I homing attack or do I kick? Because for some enemies, like, you homing attack and that hurts you, and you have no way of knowing.
Using dishwashing detergent and a toothpick.
I know.
So look, fixing a propeller on a biplane?
The antics between Sonic and Tails are pretty nice, but again, not as good as in Colours.
They start off pretty good, but you'll say that.
Yeah, they went a really odd route with Sonic and Tails in this game, to the point where I would argue that there are absolutely no likeable characters in this game.
Oh, jeez.
I'd say there's one.
Well, there is one, yeah, but the characters we should be rooting for.
Yeah, we'll say that for next time. Now it's time to move on to the second world of the game, Desert Ruins.